Okay guys, so this video is on evolutionary theory. So let's start off with the father of evolution. That's Charles Darwin. He performed his research in the Galapagos Islands with finches, which are birds. And he came up with this theory of natural selection. And there's Charles Darwin right there, and these are finches. And what he concluded was that he looked at the different birds. They were all related, but he noticed that they had different types of beaks, just like these four birds have different beaks. And what he concluded was, based off the food that was in nature, nature chose the birds that were best suited or most adapted to live in certain areas of the island. So maybe this bird lived in an area where there were really hard nuts or foods for it to eat. Maybe this bird lived where there were smaller seeds or nuts. So they have adapted to the environment that they're living in, and that is called natural selection. The gene pool consists of all genes present in the population. If a species is genetically varied, it has a diverse gene pool. If a species is genetically similar, on the other hand, it has a narrow gene pool. Most species are genetically diverse, meaning they have variations in their genetic material. It's like all humans don't look alike. You have some really attractive humans and you have some not so attractive humans. All right. Just like you have same thing with dogs. You have really nice looking dogs. You have some dogs that look like you have golden retrievers, you have labs, and then you also have cocker spaniels, you have chihuahuas. There are variations, even though they're the same species of animal. These genetic variations cause certain organisms to survive more successfully than others. Variations that cause evolution result from random mutations in the DNA that occur in gametes only. So it's not that mutations happen in body cells. You could have a mutation in your skin cells all you want, but that will not be passed on to your offspring. It must happen inside of gametes, inside of those sex cells. So just like, once again, you have those differences, there's a mutation where he's freakishly tall, right? That must have happened in the gametes of one of his parents to be passed on. So once again, this is just showing like how different humans are. You have tall humans and short humans, obviously, right? So the theory of natural selection, according to natural selection, only the fittest organisms survive to pass on their genes to their offspring. Organisms can be fit because they have advantageous adaptations. So when you think of fit, you shouldn't be thinking of this guy right here. Though he's very fit, like physically fit, he may not be the best adapted. So that's not what you should think of. You should think of an organism that is best adapted. So for example, a white rabbit is well adapted for a snowy habitat. Better than a brown rabbit because it's white, it can blend in, so its chances of surviving are higher. And it's also able to then pass on, it's more likely to pass on its offspring, which makes it more advantageous. And so therefore, it is good for reproduction. This idea is called survival of the fittest. Only the fit survive, or the fittest survive. That doesn't necessarily mean the strongest, it just means the most fit. Because only the fittest survive to pass on their genes to their offspring, the fit genes become more frequent in the population. This is because this can cause changes over a long period of time, which then leads to evolution. So basically what that means is, if you have white rabbits and brown rabbits living in a snowy environment, and say I'm a fox who eats rabbits, I am going to be more likely to eat the brown rabbits because I can see them more easily than the white rabbits. So what that means is, because there are more white rabbits surviving, that means that they're able to pass on their offspring. So eventually, the majority of the rabbits will become white, and then after a long period of time, all of the rabbits in the environment will be white. And this is called evolution, a change in a population, not an individual, but a population over a long period of time. All right, so other mechanisms of evolution, genetic drift and gene flow refers to changes in the gene pool and can occur through different ways. So first you have the bottleneck effect. That occurs when a population is severely reduced in a random fashion. So some bottleneck events that cause populations to lower drastically are massive hunting events or natural disasters. So these are very random. They're not planned. They're not expected. And they drastically reduce the population of a species. Then you have the founder effect. Occurs when a small portion of the population is separated and begins a new population. So either they move away, or maybe they're separated by an earthquake, and maybe there's now a big ravine or a big gap between a small portion of the population and the rest of the population. So this new small portion goes off and starts their own population, or maybe they're separated in some other way. You also have immigration, which is individuals coming into a population. That drastically affects things, as well as immigration, which is individuals leaving a population. So you also have immigration, like I was saying, though, to where individuals are leaving a population. Isolations can also change, can cause changes in the gene pool. That's where isolations can occur when if there's a natural disaster like an earthquake or a flood that will separate portions of the population from everyone else. Geography, separated by space, mountain ranges, rivers, islands. Temporal, which will be separated by time, different mating seasons or different times, night and day. Maybe some animals hunt better during the day or hunt better during at night. They may mate during certain different times of the year. That can also be drastic changes. You have behavioral, that's separated by reproductive behavior, so mating routine. Okay, so but then I have speciation. That occurs when one species evolves into two different species. So you technically have one animal, and then it moves into two separate animals that can no longer mate together, that can no longer reproduce offspring together. This rarely happens, but it has been known to happen before. A species is defined as a group of organisms that can reproduce fertile offspring together. So humans, we are all the same species because we can all reproduce together. It doesn't matter what race you are, as long as you're a human being, you can mate with another human being. Same thing with dogs. Dogs are the same species. That's why as long as you're a dog, you can mate with another dog. They have the same number of chromosomes, and that's what makes you the same species. So a human being cannot mate with a dog because we have different number of chromosomes. We're not the same species. So a species are when two organisms can come together to make fertile offspring, and meaning that their children can have children, and then their grandchildren can have children, and it can continue on and on. If a population's gene pool is not changing, which is rare, this never happens, but if the population is not changing, the population is not evolving, it is known to be in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. Species are constantly evolving. Populations are constantly evolving. You're in the middle of evolution now. You just don't recognize it because it happens so slowly over such a long period of time. But populations are constantly changing. So Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is very rare, and there are 5 conditions for which Hardy-Weinberg that must be there for Hardy-Weinberg to exist, but those typically never happen. All right, so here's your top 10. We're going to read over these together. And you're going to repeat after the leader. Feel free to watch this video again if you want to get a better understanding for the notes, or if you just want to catch the notes one more time, or you can use it to help you study for your quiz this coming Friday.